as we get further into action, what we're going to be looking at is our goals and milestones. So for this talk, we're going to call it Center Your Aim. Right, so your beliefs should help you have a general idea of what your why is, where you want to go, right? In order for us to bridge the gap between our beliefs and kind of what's in our mind and reality, we need to have a tangible way of getting there. So something that we can put our hands on and track, right? So in order to do that, we need to have some sort of goals or milestones, however you want to call them. And these are just ways that we can kind of bring our ideas to life out of thin air, I guess. However you want to say, right? So the method that we're going to take through this talk is going to be based off the 7 levels that we did last episode, I believe. And so if you haven't gone through the whole 7 levels, what your why is, what your beliefs are about yourself, then it might be a good idea to go back, watch that one. It's only about 20 minutes. If you really want, just watch like the last 10, I think. And it'll just go into what the 7 levels is. If you're an action taker, you just want to go ahead and do that real quick. Then get to the bottom of your why, and we can move forward. Now, odds are that your why is a pretty broad statement, or I guess we could say statement. And because of this, we also have a lot of ways of how we can get to this goal or beliefs in this statement. So it's hard to take action on something that's pretty broad, right? But that's okay. From the 7 levels, our beliefs tend to be more, it's like putting up the target, right? So we have before where we didn't really have an aim. Maybe we're just making shots in the dark, right? Now with the 7 levels, we have a target, an outline, but it's still really, really broad, right? Where we could shoot it, hit right in the middle, or really far right field, right field, right? So there's not a really good focus on where we're going, and that's what we want to look at. So from what I've experienced and learned, there are more right ways to getting an outcome than there are wrong ways. And what I mean by that is, if you have this as your specific outcome, you can come at it this way, top, left, right, bottom, up, over, below, right? There's so many different ways to get to one target outcome that sometimes, and especially in my case, you can get frozen or feel paralyzed because you might have all these different ideas to get to this one outcome. And that's okay, right? At this point in the stages of taking action, that's kind of what we would expect, right? We have an idea of where we want to go. Now, we have all of these generalized ideas that we haven't really put on paper that we could use to get there. And when there's so many things, then your mind can be like, well, I could do this, could do this, could do this. And then typically when you get more than 3 ideas or things that you can do, your brain goes 1, 2, 3, and then many. So as soon as you hit past that 3rd one, usually your brain's like, oh my goodness, there's too much, I can't do this, right? So the idea behind what we're doing next is to help narrow those things down, right? To make it to where we can take actionable steps towards this next year, I guess, this next year, this following years, whatever. But we still have to start a little bit more broad so that we can help connect those dots. So what we're going to be doing in this one is laying out our 3 to 5 year plan. And in order to do that, we have to look at our beliefs and almost as if we're outlining what exactly has to happen to make those beliefs come true, right? So the outline for the 3 to 5 year plan is going to be a little bit different than our 1 year plan in progressing down, right? So this is what I do, and this is, like I said, there's many ways to get to where your thoughts are on paper and you can take action towards them. This is just the way that I use, and it's the way that is in my book, and it's also the way that's worked for me, right? So this is just what I enjoy doing, and it helps me put everything on paper. So for the 3 to 5 year plan, the main goal here is what we want accomplished, or the outcomes of what our work is. So we put on all this work the next 3 to 5 years. What are the outcomes that you specifically want to have happened by that time, right? And so that's what we're going to be looking at with our 3 to 5 year plan. So these are not really action based. So a couple of examples are healthier love life, marriage, specific career success, a home, spiritual growth, anything that's along those lines. And you can even specify it even more than that. It's like how far into your spiritual growth, what kind of a home, where exactly do you want to be in your career, right? These are the kind of 3 to 5 year plans that we're talking about. And if you're learning focused like me, how much can I learn in a 3 to 5 year timeline, right? So this is more, we're laying out a timeline for the next few years. And this makes it a lot more tangible, right? And I'm not saying this is going to be the same for the entirety of the 3 to 5 years, because after the next year, like after this next year comes by, our 3 to 5 year plan will probably change. Why? Because we're going to take either more action or less action than what we were originally expecting. And ideally, you're taking more action, and then you can move your 3 to 5 year plan to a 2.5 year plan, right? Excuse me. So that's kind of the idea, but having it written on paper, it makes it tangible for the foreseeing future. Right. So with our 3 to 5 years, what we want to do is we want to put, I would say, 10 to 15 things, right? So in the next 3 to 5 years, what are the 10 to 15 things you want outcome-based to have happen? So we'll say, in my case, we'll say speaking full-time. I'm not going to actually do 15 or 10, but I'm going to put a couple here for example. Speaking full-time, we'll say healthy relationships in general. And then we'll say business growth. And we'll put in parentheses, say 300,000 a year margin. No, whatever. Right. So we'll just say those are my goals. Okay, pretty general, not super specific, but it does tie into a why, right? So whatever my why was before, I'm not sticking to the one I specifically used last time, but this is the idea, right? So we'll say these are my 10 to 15, which is 3, but And now what we want to do is group everything together in 3 categories. And I like looking at all of my goals in 3 specific categories, right? So we have, let me get down. We have physical, if I can spell, physical, mental, and spiritual. Right. So we have these three outlines. Always leave a little room for some spirit. Those are our three categories. So you have those 3 to 5 year goals, outcomes laid out. Take all of these and put them in one of the three categories. And what this does is it helps categorize like mental. And here's the way that I think about it. Physical takes a different kind of energy, mental takes a different kind of energy, and spiritual takes a different kind of energy. What do I mean by that? In my experience, when I'm drained physically, I can still push myself mentally. When I'm drained mentally, I can still push myself physically. And on top of all those things, spiritual growth is very, very important. So these all take a different kind of focus and energy from you as a person, which means if we're exhausted physically, we can still work on something mentally and we can still work on something spiritually, if you have enough drive to go for those things, right? So we take our 10 to 15 outcomes. If you want to go 20, go 20. If you're a big shooter, do it, right? As long as you're taking action, we're going to get there. If you have 20 things that you want, go for 20. But try and put at least 10 to 15 specific, generalized things that you can work towards. So now we have our three categories: physical, mental, and spiritual. So physical will say business growth, or speaking full time, we'll say that. Speaking. Mental is, we'll say 20 books read. And keep in mind, this is still our 3 to 5 year goal. So 20 books is not actually a lot, but you can change the number, right? This is just what I'm putting. And then spiritual, we'll say growing closer to God, whatever that might be for you. But this is, again, my examples. Now, we have our physical, our mental, and our spiritual 3 to 5 year plan, or 3 to 5 year goals laid out, right? These are the outcomes that we want in the next 3 to 5 years. Cool. Now, we take all of these and we say for each one, and try and do this specifically for each one because they're all going to be a little bit different. And the next year, so we have 1 year, which is what we're going to next, our 1 year plan. Our 1 year plan, the outline for this is going to be, I want to make sure I word this right. What can I do that brings me the closest to achieving my 3 to 5 year plan in the next year? What can I possibly put together to make me as close as possible to those goals being achieved in the next year? So you're taking your 3 to 5 year plan and you're saying, can I get this done in a year? Write out exactly what you would need to do to get it done in a year. And then that's where we're going to start looking at, right? So they're going to still be in the physical, mental, and spiritual world, but they're all going to be a little bit different. So now we're writing down, we're grouping everything. So physical's group, spiritual's group, mental's group. And then we say, in the next year, what can I do physically, mentally, and spiritually to get closer to these goals? And what will be the most effective methods? So how I did it, I believe, when I was doing it, and what I have written here, is write down 10 things for each that you think would get. So physical, what are 10 things that you think that would get you, that if you did this year, it would get you really close to the 3 to 5 year plan, right? Do that, then go to mental, do the same thing. What are the 10, we'll say 8 to 10 things that you could do this year that will bring you closer to your mental goals? Then spiritually, we want to do the same, right? What are the 8 to 10 things that we can do to bring us closer to those goals? And then once you have those written down, and this is a process, I know, but it makes it very, very specific over time, especially over the next year, which is what we're going to get into the next episode, right? But we're still looking at the year. So now we have our year plan, 1 year. In this next year, we have our physical lined out by 10, so 8 to 10, physical, can't spell, physical, mental, and spiritual. Now these aren't outcomes, these are what can we do, so they're different, which is why the 1 year plan is different than the 3 to 5 year plan. 3 to 5 year plan is our outcomes, what we want to have happen. These are our inputs, what can we do to get there, right? Now, we have our list of 8 to 10 things, whatever, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. We have these. Now we're going to use something called we're going to utilize something called the Pareto principle. Pareto, I don't know how else to say it, but Pareto principle. Now, this principle says that the most important or most significant 20% brings out the 80% of the possible outcome, right? So now what we're going to do because of this is look at, out of the 10 things in each category, 8 to 10 things in each category that you've done, what are the top 2 to 3 things that if you did those, only those, you would make the most amount of progress in that year. So now what we have is 2 to 3 things in each category, physical, spiritual, and mental, that will bring us closer to our goals, right? The 2 to 3 things that are the most significant that will put us the furthest ahead, okay? Now, this is when we get to actually making the yearly goals. And then, I got sidetracked. For this next year, these are now our goals. So we have 2 to 3 in each category. We have 2, we'll just say 2 for now. 2 in our physical, 2 in our mental, and 2 in our spiritual. So this year, we should have 6 overall goals in terms of inputs that we can do that will bring us closer to our 3 to 5 year plan, which is ultimately what we want. Now, in the next one, what we're going to do is break down the year, because the year, for me, gets pretty extensive, because then we're getting into quarters, months, days, weeks, stuff like that. So, in the next one, stay tuned for that. We will go into more detail. But for right now, at the end of this, we should have 6 total inputs that we could do to make our life more goal-oriented, more towards our beliefs and our whys. Okay?